Hello, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Zainab, and I am going to be the moderator for today's webinar, which is Launch Your Own Product line, and it's hosted by Open Silicon Valley. You can start sending in your questions, and we'll try and get to it. If we need to extend it, we can extend some time, and we'll get to it. I already see a couple of questions come in, and I'm looking forward to that. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
And first, we have Dr. Najwa Javed, and she's a podiatrist and a surgeon over here in Silicon Valley. And she will introduce herself, very successful. And Komal needs no introduction. She is a successful singer, an artist, multiple award winner, and let's just begin. So excited to meet both of you. So how about the first thing is share your background, where you come from, and what made you decide on a product, and how did you go about launching it? So Najwa, maybe take it away first, and we'll join Komal after.
Well, thank you so much for that kind introduction. And I'm so excited to be hosting this event today with Open Silicon Valley and also with Gomal. Thank you guys so much for having me. So a little bit of background on myself as Zainab said, my name is Najwa Javed, and I am a full-time working podiatrist, which is also a foot and ankle surgeon in Silicon Valley. I've been practicing in the Bay Area for almost about 15 years. I did my residency locally in the area, and afterwards I started a medical group. So over the last, 15 years, I've been treating men and women with a lot of foot and ankle conditions and surgically fixing pathologies. And it just happened to be that women and men would come to me and say, Dr. Javed, we're having a really hard time finding shoes that are stylish and sensible. And for the first 5 years, I would just tell everybody, you just have to wear some tennis shoes. That's just how it works. That's what we're taught in orthopedics is that if you're injured, you wear tennis shoes or athletic shoes. But it wasn't working for my patient. And so a few of my girlfriends one weekend we were on a girls trip were like, hey, Najwa, you're always wearing heels. So how do you know which ones are the best? And why don't you create a line? And it actually just started from there. It was just a basic, like, why don't you start a line? And I was like, I don't have time. I have kids and I have a full-time practice. And they were like, well, it can't be that hard. So why don't you just Google it? And without much more, I Googled it, and it started a long process, about 4 years of developing and researching how to make heels. And that's how we came about with Emar Italy, and it launched earlier this year.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. And Komal, how about you? Give us your story of, you're successful, you're busy, and then you came up with this idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was kind of, these kind of ideas, especially ones that are successful, they're always kind of inside you. And I feel like everybody always knows deep down inside, kind of, they may have not, it may not come to the forefront of their brain because they're busy doing other things, but it's that shock, that passion, that seed is always kind of inside them. And for me, it was taking care of my skin and my hair. And while teenage girls were saving their pocket money for bags and shoes and like fancy earrings and jewelry, I would literally be standing at a pharmacy going, Mommy, can I buy this cream? And my mom would be like, you already have so many. And I would come to Pakistan for vacation because I didn't grow up here. And I would always be very disappointed at because I'd be like, oh, Pakistan, herbal, uptan, and all the nani amma ki recipes, and I would not be able to find anything here, and I'd be so disappointed that I'd be able to find them in Sri Lanka or India or but not here. So I actually started touring. I moved back to America, and because I had a lot of tours in North America. So to cut the long story short, I have a cousin in Canada who actually is a chemist, and she's actually like all these big skincare companies like Clarins and Yves Saint Laurent, and she actually is a consultant for them in terms of formalization of skincare. So, I actually went to visit her while I was living in the Bay Area, and I was, very enraptured by her little samples and her little sachets and her talking about it. And I said to her, I've always wanted to do this, but between my tours and my music making and my acting and my hosting and my traveling, I don't even have time to get a dog, much less start a company, you know. So she said, Komal, if this is something you really really want to do, you just gotta close your nose and just dive right in, like head first. So again, I didn't do it at that point, but eventually, I think for people out there who really want to start something, and even if they don't, I didn't have any training. I'm self-taught, but now I know enough about vitamin C, and I know about vitamin B3, and I know all the, everything, salicylic acid, hyaluronic acid, everything that's good for your skin or bad for your skin, mercury, etc. I'm self-taught, so never ever feel intimidated, and don't let other people tell you that just because you don't know, or you didn't go to MIT, or you didn't study it, that you can't do it. You can do anything you set your mind to. It's just you have to have that belief in yourself, and you have to have that passion to actually learn about it. So that, I mean, don't do anything half baked. If you're doing it, then really learn about it, and put in the hours and do it. That's what I did.
So how much research time did it take you guys to research it and then at least get to the point? What was your first step after the research and what you went through?
That's actually a really
I'll let Najwa start.
So, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with Gomo, like 100%. You usually have like this desire deep inside of you to create, right? And it just manifests for most people, like at an opportune time where they actually see how it's going to solve a problem, right? So the thing is that for me, being in medicine, it's really, really hard to do anything in fashion. I don't know how the shoe is made. I don't know what materials they use. I wasn't ever trained at the school of, fashion, right? The London School of Fashion. And so what happens is that you have to take the initiative to do a lot of research. And, if you're one of the biggest things about entrepreneurs, what I've learned over time is that they have this resilience to constantly figure out the answer to the questions that they have. Like, where do I find the answer? Like, how do I get to it? Who do I talk to? So for me, particularly, it was very hard because one, I'm a physician in America, and nobody in fashion, I don't have a pedigree. So they didn't even want to talk to me. And I couldn't even figure out how to start. But as they say, if there's no door, you have to create one. So I actually started to Google and research like just how to make a heel. Like how do you really make one? What does it consist of? What's the anatomy? And it started from there. And then I started to basically reach out to anybody and everybody that I could find on LinkedIn, on just Google names about like, this company that would make something and how they made it or what their criterion was. And sometimes like I would like just cold call people and I wouldn't get any responses. And then I would like get a response back. And it was great because it's just one response each time that sets everything in motion, right? People think that they have to have like a lot going on at the same time to make something successful, but it's just that 1% that actually gets you started. So I started to do very small research and then just compound on that research. And then you build a network like, okay, this person will get you in contact with this person. And then from there on forward, I would recommend for anybody who's wanting to start something is that do your research, do your due diligence, right? Like in anything, you need to be able to do your due diligence. And then it actually allows you to figure out, do you really want to continue with this or not? Because sometimes you do research and you're like, oh, maybe that's not my cup of tea. But other times it's like, oh my God, this is right up my alley. I can totally understand it. And the more you talk with people, the more you learn. And once you learn not only from their successes, but also their failures, it's really, really easy for you to make sure that when you're building your brand, you're not making the same mistakes because somebody else may have made it or something that they may have done really good. You can actually like grab onto that and create momentum for yourself. You're muted, Zainab.
Persistence and due diligence.
Mhm.
And what about you, Komal? What was your first step? You talked to your cousin, and then where
Yeah,
did you go from there?
I also agree. I think persistence, due diligence. I'd also like to add, in my case, it was more like I had to be a little bit smart about it because I didn't have a lot of money or savings, and I didn't want any investors, and I had a lot of naysayers in this as well. People who said, "Acha, but in Pakistan you can get a cream for 200 rupees. Why would someone pay 2,500 rupees for your cream?" And so I had to have a lot of grit as well, and that was kind of just like just go forth and just kind of go against what just go with your instinct, right? But it also has to be informed in the sense that I identified a pretty solid gap in the market. I knew that local skincare is not meeting its mark, and we don't have this whole big chunk where there's demand, there is no supply. I mean, there is supply, but it's substandard supply. And when people are saying that, okay, this is what people are used to in Pakistan, then I had another hurdle, which was awareness, raising awareness, and that seemed mountainous to me because I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to not just market my product, but I'm gonna have to battle this whole other field where I would be disseminating information to people and telling them that it's 200 rupees because it has mercury in it, or it has bleach in it, or it has harmful ingredients in it, or it has. And so my research actually started. I kind of already knew a little bit about skincare because I was so into it. So in my case, my research had to start from the perspective of, okay, so if I want to educate people, then I need them to show interest in my product. And in order for them to show interest in my product, I have to give them something which they want, and they will be convinced that this is something they can switch to and spend more money. Everybody is very price sensitive here because the income per capita is very, very low. So a dollar, which is 160 rupees, can actually break a customer for me. So I actually had to go back to the drawing board and do dipsticks and have focus group tests where I could get real information from real women as to what would make them spend more money on a product. And it was not something very expensive. You can do it with friends, you can do it with relatives, you can put it online and say, hey, we need volunteers, please help us with this product. But real time, real information from real potential customers is key. And obviously then this is after you've done research about your product. Like I knew I wanted to do a cream, a range of creams, launch with a range of creams that helps you even your skin tone out and give you like that dewy glowy effect, that hydrated effect. And I knew that I wanted to do that. I didn't want to do anti-aging, and I didn't want to do acne, and I didn't want to do children, and I knew what I wanted to do. Again, maybe it was instinct, or also I think it was popular and everyone was talking about it and I love it, and so maybe it was a combination of stuff. So yeah, I think field research, dipsticks, focus groups, talking to people outside your immediate circle, like your buying customers. You should identify your audience. I knew what my audience was. My audience was those who could spend 1,500 to 2,500 on a skincare product, and then kind of just work reverse engineering from there and kind of saying, okay, I can compromise on this chemical, Like I don't have to put so much L-ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, because it makes it very expensive. Maybe I could put 2%. So that kind of also worked for me because I kind of reverse engineered and I kind of said, okay, maybe I need to put, like, for instance, in my, when I launched my hair care shampoo and conditioner range, my conditioner is sulfate free and paraben free, but my shampoos are only paraben free. They're not sulfate free because I use a mixture of my shampoos, but I also use sulfate free shampoos, which I get from America. And the reason for that is the second you do sulfate free, excuse me, shampoos, the foaming, SLS is what gives your hair a lot of foaming, right? A lather. And people in Pakistan love that. And if it's not lathering, they're like, oh, your shampoo expired ho gaya hai. You know, that's just where they come from, right? Also, if I put sulfate-free preservatives, it also acts as a preservative. The price jumps to 3 times its price. So I have to do a lot of kind of weighing that what can I compromise in and what can I not. So what I did was I did not put SLS because I was not willing to compromise on that. I put plant derived SLES, which
Okay.
is the lowest on the toxicity scale, the safest. It's FDA approved. It's not very expensive either, and it gives the lather. So I think step two, after kind of figuring out what your idea is and doing your research and having that, that demand supply, kind of identifying the niche, I feel most important thing would be to know where your lines are in terms of compromising your product and knowing what will work. Like you can't just say कि अच्छा मुझे ये करना है, मुझे unicorns बेचने हैं 1 लाख रुपए के और वो बिक जाएंगे. So you need to be a little realistic also, and you need to be a little bit flexible also in terms of depending on who your customer is.
Right. So Komal, you said you did not want to go with the flow of investors and you wanted to do it on your own. Najwa, how about you? Did you go the investor route or did you do it on your own? What would you recommend? I mean,
So that's a great question as well. So being in Silicon Valley, right? Like everybody wants an investor. So to be frankly honest, when I started, my whole game plan was to go through the investor route, and I'll tell you why. It's because I come from a family of technology. Like my husband's in tech, my brother-in-law's in tech, my friends are in tech. So it just made sense. Everybody was like, you have this great product, you have this idea, and you can go ahead and you can pitch it, and then we'll see. So first, initially, when I actually finished doing my research about how to make heels, and then just like Gomo said, that there were certain things that I could not compromise. Like I was advised by some of my VC mentors, they were like, well, you don't want to create in Italy because Italy is very, very expensive to actually launch a brand out of. It's a cost heavy incentive, it's just very cost heavy. And most investors don't want to have something that's so cost heavy. They want to be able to give a little bit and make a lot, right?
yeah,
So
get a return on their investment fast.
exactly, they don't want to get 500, like 50 million. They want to make like 500 million, right? So
Right.
what ended up happening is that I knew that there were certain things that I could just not compromise on. One was where I wanted to have it built, and then the secondary thing was my price point. So as Komal said, your price point is so strategic, right? So we did a lot of testing as well. We had to have a lot of discussions with not only friends and family, but we also had focus groups. We also did surveys. We did a lot of that. And these are actually not very expensive because you can just send a survey out. They're usually free and you can get a lot of data. And the thing with VCs is that they're data driven, right? Like they want to see data. They want to know what's A to B, how are you going to scale this? What are you going to do with it? And for me, coming from somebody who didn't have a lot of background in business, a lot of times they would say words like keck and things like that, and I wouldn't understand them. And it made it really difficult because you, again, have to become self taught. You literally have to learn everything. And it's kind of like an overnight journey. But the thing is that, what I learned from my VC teams is that they wanted to see like how much data I could provide them. And when you're a startup company or you're like an infant brand, you usually don't have a lot of data, right? It's just something that you can't have because it's not like you're a tech company where you can actually do a lot of like analysis with fashion, or it's hard to get that type of data immediately. And so what I initially started to do, I started to pitch. And then when I would pitch all of these VCs, like the biggest names in Silicon Valley, like, I've talked to all of them. I would talk to other founders. Like I literally would cold call founders of other companies who were within the same niche as me. And I would be like, hey, how did you get this investor to give you money? Or like, how did you talk to them, or what it was? And I would ask for one-on-one meetings. And what I figured is that I, as of right now, didn't have the capacity to get VC funding because I just didn't have enough data. So then I had to pivot, right? Because I was thinking like, I'm going to have this brilliant product that I created. I've spent all this, time and energy creating a brand that would be a game changer. Every woman loves to wear heels. What's better than having a heel that's not orthopedically anatomically realigning, but it's also super fashionable, so you can look
Right.
great when you're wearing it? So I thought it was a no-brainer. I was like, who would say no to me? So but you get a lot of no's, and then you get a lot of naysayers too, like just from the group that you're in. People are like, well, it's not that, like, why would I wear a heel? Like, aren't you a doctor? Shouldn't you not recommend us? And I was like, well, of course, like if you don't want to wear it, you don't have to. But if you do want to, why not wear the best that you can wear, right? Like
Exactly.
it doesn't make any other sense. So once I figured out that my VC teams also, who were my mentors, they didn't agree on my price point. So they again, they were like, you need to have this. They want to have, if you're I feel like this is how they think. If you have a pyramid, they want to get to the base of the pyramid. Every single person, they want that product to be accessible to everybody. It needs to be cheap and everybody should be able to get it, right? Or
Right.
you can be like those really top tiered VCs that just want the top 1% of that pyramid. And those are like, the Louboutins, which are like $1,000. That wasn't my price point. My price point was for the woman every day who goes to work and wants to look good. And so there was this huge area, just like Gomal said, that there was just a gap. There was a market gap. And I was like, my price point is going to be, after doing a lot of surveys, was 345. And that felt fair to me. And it was fair because it had quality, it had design, it had medical expertise, but then it also was accessible to most women. Most women can afford that in America. And so because we had this back and forth with my VC mentors, I decided that, for right now, I'm going to hold getting investment from them. But investments are really, really important. So a couple of ways that I was able to get some investment to help me was my friends and family. I think that this is really hard for some people though, because you really have to ask like friends and family to invest in you, believe in you. And, like it's stressful too, because you're like, oh, I just took their money. And if this company doesn't do well, like, how am I going to look at them in the face? Like, oh my God, this is going
Exactly.
to be
Yeah, that's a hard one.
so it was very hard for me. I was very conflicted. I didn't want to ask my friends and family for money. Like, I didn't want to feel like I was putting them on the spot. They had to support me. There's a lot of emotion that goes behind it. I didn't know how, if it was going to be successful. But what ended up happening is that the people who really, really believed in me, they were like, Najwa, we really believe in you. We want to give you like 1,000, or like, 500 or whatever. And then when I was able to kind of like put it together, I had money. And then obviously, like, I self-funded a lot of it because I'm very thankful. One of my VCs that I was talking to, they were like, well, if you want to have VC funding, you need to quit your job and you need to focus on your brand full time. And I was like, well, that's great. But, like, I can't, because this brand needs money to start. And if you're not going to give it to me and you're going to wait till I have data, I won't be able to survive. So, you really have to figure out what works best for you. They all told me, like, if you're going to work full time as a physician, you're never going to have a successful brand. And actually, I think that that's completely incorrect, because I was able to do my passion without having to be completely like desperate because of it. Like, if
Right.
you have passion and desperation, it's because you don't have any other income coming in. It really screws with your brain. And then you might not be able to successfully create the line because you're so stressed with the burden of it. So I did self-fund a lot of it. I did have some friends and family. And then, you guys, when I actually launched the brand, when I actually was able to finally launch it, I did have to get what's it called, some investment that came in through the banks, and that was great too, because as I said, it's very expensive to build a line in Italy. We could have built it in Spain, we could have built it in Mexico or China, but we decided not to because the quality had to be such. So it's like what Gomal said, you know, if you're willing to not compromise on certain things because you know what it is, you have to like weigh like what are the risks and what are the, you know, benefits of doing this. And so I would recommend that if you are tight on funds and you really have to, there's a lot of ways that you can do a lot by yourself. There's a lot of apps out there. There's a lot of like Upwork can help you get like the little like somebody to design your website if you don't know how to do it. I used Upwork a lot. So there are ways around it, but I decided not to go through VC funding once I figured out that they were not going to be on point of where I was right now. And even if I wanted it in the future, I would have to wait till I had enough data.
Okay, that's great. So that leads up to my next question that I had, and I think Najwa, you already answered it, is how do you decide where you take the manufacturing to? And you already said you didn't want to compromise, you know, you wanted to go to Italy, and that's where I'm assuming your manufacturing is.
Yes, my manufacturing is in Italy, and I was advised time and time over again not to do it there by every VC mentor that I had because they were like, it's too expensive. You're a baby brand. If you go under, you've just invested all your money and it might not. And you know, maybe they were right, but in their own mind. But I believed in the brand so much and I knew what I was creating that I had no doubt in my mind that when I got this brand and it actually came and they actually saw it, that there was going to be no comparison with it. And let me tell you, it was really hard to get Italy to even listen to me because, you know, Italians or Europeans, they don't need to find comfort and style. They're like, why would you want to be comfortable? This is style, right? Like they don't understand this American concept of loungewear. They're like, if you go out, you dress up and you
Correct.
go out. So I was like, yeah, but women in America, they don't want to be in pain all the time. And they're like, well, why are you wearing heels are painful? So, you know, this brand awareness, this changing the mindset of men and women, it's really difficult. Like, you know, Como said multiple times, like, you know, people are so ingrained with this mindset of like certain things being certain ways, and to change their mind is really hard. So, you know, I feel like whenever you create something new and you have like this niche that you're trying to fill a void in, you have to do more than just the brand itself. You have to make like a whole game changer, right? Like that's what you have to, a game changing product.
Yes.
Thinking like we have organic foods for us, right? Because we want to take care of our self-health. We have, you know, skincare lines that are so clean and they're healthy and they're just like, you know,
Right.
they, and then in shoes, we didn't have that. So it was a lot of work there, but
Perfect.
yes.
Awesome. Komal, where did you decide where you wanted to do your manufacturing and, you know, how did you come up with that answer? Because, you know, the world is out there, everybody's manufacturing beauty products and you have a niche. And how did you decide where did you want to take your manufacturing to?
Actually, so this is where my cousin comes in. She kind of recommended loads and loads and loads of companies, and because I did not have investors, I wasn't comfortable with somebody else's money. You know, I'm very like I'm like very scared. Like it's a bad thing because everybody in the Bay Area keeps telling me that look, get investors on board. I've had people show interest because now my business has grown like 100 times, literally 100 times in a year and a half. But I'm scared because I don't come from that family background. My dad was a banker and I was an artist. So mera paisa hai, I'm gonna kharch it and no questions asked, right? So it was difficult for me to actually decide who I'm gonna go with. China, um, the reliable manufacturers were affordable, but I didn't want to do China. Korea was not halal, right? Because they do a lot of snail and they do a lot of stuff like that. So I wanted to do Korea, but it just didn't make sense for me in terms of actually being successful with the product. Europe was great, but expensive. And America was not so expensive, but it was expensive in terms of importing. So I had to learn
Right.
about importing. I had to learn about duties. I had to learn about freight. I had to learn about how I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. I all my products came from Spain because I felt that they were willing to work with me and willing to reduce this ingredient can be a little bit accommodated to suit your price. And okay, this jar, it doesn't have to be so fancy. It can just be a basic jar. And this primary box, it doesn't have to be like, super glossy. It can be matte. And like he was really willing to work with me, and he understood that I'm a new person in this and I didn't have the specs right away. And so that's why I chose to go with Spain. But when I was launching 3 products, let me tell you guys one thing. The amount of money that I spent launching was 4 times or maybe even 5 times higher than what I'm doing right now. I have localized a lot of my production. I launched with 3 products. Now I have, mashallah, a portfolio of 27 products, and out of which I think 19 or 20 of them are produced in Lahore or Islamabad or Karachi, and they are really good because these companies, like Najwa said, you meet someone who meets someone, and then you create a network, and you learn from your trial and your errors, right? And I made a lot of, I didn't make any blunders, but I wasted a lot of money learning. But it was great because I pushed off and I started. And the Spanish, maybe it was a good idea to launch with a Spanish products because I didn't want to risk I didn't want to risk ruining somebody's face or causing a reaction. But as I learned and as I made connections, and as I realized that there are people here that are actually exporting bulk abroad, and I didn't have to get my jars from Spain. I could actually buy a mold of my jar here and get people to produce it here, and that would cost me a lot less. So there were a lot of learnings, and I actually haven't earned a single rupee yet because everything I earn, I just put back in because I don't have investors, right? So me and my partner Saad, we literally just whatever we're earning, we're putting it back in. And now we're launching men's care, which is going to be launching in February. And the person we're launching it with is the cricketer Shoaib Malik. So he's going to be our partner in the men's care, which
Nice.
is very, very exciting. And we are now available in all the huge stores like Pan Pakistan, and we're delivering everywhere. And it's just exploding from my ears. In terms of how to manage, how I'm managing my music, my family. Now, I luckily or unluckily, I don't know, however you want to put it, I don't have like kids or a home that I need to run, right? I just have a whole other career, which is completely not related to the business of manufacturing and products, which is completely sidelined. The truth is that if you really are obsessed with something and if you want to do it hardcore, the truth is that it's very hard to do 2 things and balance them. That's the truth. And that goes for men and women, right?
Yeah, that's
But
true.
my partner, whose livelihood actually depends on Truly Coma, he has 2 kids. And he didn't leave his job till we were in the blue, which is I think immediately like 3 months into starting Truly Coma, we were in profit. But I kept saying, Saad, I need you full time. I need you full time. And he's like, I cannot. I cannot. I have 2 kids, you know? So you do have to compromise a lot. Initially, you have to work doubly hard. But, where there's a will, there's a way. Like Najwa said, that I am going to make this people aren't even receiving my calls, but I'm going to make this a reality. Once you make it a reality, my personal opinion is that you just have to, once if you have kids, and if you are dual income and you need to earn, then be safe and obviously get to that point where you feel like, okay, now I can leave my job. and now I can get into this and make this huge. And now I can get investors on board and I have data and just go all out. But I think to do something that is next level, you do have to come to that stage at some point where you need to be like all in. And I'm not saying ignore your kids. I'm saying in terms of your work, be all in, right? That conviction and that belief and that focus is very important.
Awesome. So really quick, I mean, I think we're going to be running out of time. So really quick, maybe a couple of minutes from each one of you, or maybe a few more minutes than that. How did social media, because everything's big on social media, right? Everybody's promoting on social media. How did social media play a part in launching your products, starting your product, going further? How did you put that into perspective of using the social media? Either one.
I think, Komal, you should answer that question first.
Go ahead.
I was really lucky because I already had like 1 million followers on Facebook and a few on Instagram. I unfortunately I had a PR team who was handling my Facebook and my Instagram. So I actually didn't know how to use any of this stuff. Again, I had to self teach myself how to post, how to boost, how to. I actually outsourced my digital marketing team initially, and then they just weren't, because they were handling other brands, they were just not delivering. I was like, I don't like this, and why is it up, and why is it late? And on Sundays, I'd be calling them, and they'd be saying, "This is Sunday. We don't work on Sundays." And then I switched to another company, and then the same thing there. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna hire my own team. And when it was very expensive for me, and it was very scary for me because when somebody leaves their job and they work permanently for you, it's a big responsibility. I started literally with one employee, and now we are 50 something employees, mashallah. But the first step was very hard. But I realized that when you have an in-house person who you are telling them, okay, these are the themes that I want for digital. These are the colors. These are this is the product that I want to be focused on this week. These are the sales that I want. These are the everything can be ad hoc stuff can be done. Last minute videos can be done, testimonials can be done. And I feel like especially during COVID, where a lot of businesses, unfortunately the brick and mortar ones didn't do well because everything was shut down. I think Instagram and Facebook and all of these kind of digital um, e-com businesses, they kind of picked up, and I actually did my best growth in terms of a spike relatively during COVID, because everybody decided they have nothing to do. They're going to sit at home and they're going to put a mask on, or they're going to, put something in their hair, balu ka til or whatever. And I got really lucky in that sense. But I think digitally, you need to figure out, firstly, what is your personality? What is your brand's personality? All right, that's step one. Step two is you need to figure out how much you're going to put in terms of digital marketing. You cannot sell your product without, unfortunately, that's just how the algorithm works in Facebook and Instagram, is you will need to boost it and you will need to invest some money. So monthly, you need to keep aside like a small budget, and you need to have a plan. You need to have a content calendar, which is in my month, I'm gonna do this, and then you need to kind of zoom in and focus on weekly, and then further micromanage your content calendar by saying these are the posts that I'm going to post every day, one a day or two a day, and then these are the ones that I will spend money on. There are three kinds of posts. There's conversion post, there is engagement post, and there is an info post, right? The ones you maybe want to focus on are kind of in between the equity building, which is the engagement posts, and the conversion posts, which are basically going to help with your sales. And in the end, the third thing you need to do is you need to decide whether you want to outsource your marketing company or you want to don't do it yourself. All right. If you don't know anything about digital and you've just been boosting your own pictures for $1 and you think that's good enough, it's not. It's a science. You will need a consultant or someone to help you with that. And last but not least, I would say that if you don't want to start a store or a brick and mortar and your website is your main source of sales, your ecom, then make sure that the website that you're designing is connected with your WhatsApp and your Instagram and your Facebook, because these are all four different channels of sales, and you will need somebody there to provide information to people who are inquiring. So they all have to be cohesively connected with the same personality. एक जगह अगर आप 10% की सेल लगा रहे हैं, you cannot forget to update it on your website. It sounds intimidating, but it's actually, now that I have the hang of it, it's actually really, really easy.
Okay, and Najwa, how has your experience been with social media? Because Komal already had a following, and I'm assuming you started from scratch.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually didn't have any social media following when I started. I actually really didn't even know about social media or how it plays into brand building, to be honest, because that was never something that I was focused on. How to use social media was also very difficult for me because organic growth in social media or growth where you're able to spend time to actually play with the algorithm that Instagram has, or even like, Pinterest or LinkedIn or Facebook. These are algorithms that you have to be really well versed in, and you have to have a little bit of time. So as Komal was saying that, you do need to have somebody who knows how to do these in order to make it successful. So my consulting team is in London, and they a few years ago were like, Najwa, like in order for you to actually get your brand out there, you need to build your brand, like you yourself. You have to build yourself. And I was like, well, I don't really understand that. And they're like, well, you have to build your brand so that people can understand and relate to you so that they could relate to your line whenever it launches. So that was actually quite hard for me because, I'm actually, I'm, I am an introvert. People think I'm an extrovert, but I actually like to just, be at home. I have a few friends. I hang out with them and, I can talk, but I like to just be around the people that I'm around. And I don't like everybody knowing my business. But the thing is that you actually have to change your mindset because when you're launching a brand, you have to launch yourself too, right? Like there's some thought leadership behind there. There is something that you're bringing, you have equity in yourself and you're bringing it to the table. So when that happened, I was like, okay, I can do this. So I started out organically, just like figuring out how do you use Instagram? Because you first have to learn how to use these tools. So again, self-taught how to use Instagram, how to learn how to boost a post, all the things that Gomal said, you really have to understand it. I
Can I just interject here very quickly? So I actually had nothing to post one day, and my PR company called me and said, "Why haven't you posted today?" And I was like, "Because I'm not doing anything today." And they're like, "Just go outside, have a coffee in your hand, take a selfie, and say good morning and post it." I mean, it was literally that bad.
it, it, it's
So I hear you.
it's so hard, right? Like sometimes I still think to myself, I'm like, what am I gonna post? And they're like, oh, pull out your coffee drawer with all your Keurig cups in it. Like, just like silly things. You actually have to really be able to put yourself out there. And that was really hard for me. And especially because I have two little kids. And I didn't want them to think that, I was so absorbed in social media that I was losing time with them because I am also a full-time working physician, right? I have like really long hours. I teach residents. So I actually had
Wow.
to really figure out like a balance for myself. Like, Najwa, how much time are you going to spend on social media every week? And in the beginning, it was insane. I was spending so much time because I was trying to connect to people. And my kids would be like, Mom, you're always on social media. Like, even at night, like they would want to hug me and I would be on my phone. So I had to actually stop that. And I would recommend this for you guys too. So one of the things that I actually did is I put a time limit on my social media usage. Like 5 hours or 6 hours a week. And then what I would do is that you have to have a content planning calendar, like Omo said. There is no way that you can actually constantly be creating content if you don't have a calendar. This was one of the most important things that I actually learned, and I would highly recommend it. It's like anything else. Like, you have to have a task list, you have to have a journal, you have to have it written. So I use Planily, which is an app. It's free, and you can upgrade it, but it gives you a whole calendar, 30 days, and you schedule all your posts. I spend about 2 hours on Monday, which is my day to actually write out my content. And I write it out and I post it just sporadically. So that's really important because you want to do that. The next thing is that social media marketing. So I will tell you this. So like Gomo, I hired a marketing firm, a digital marketing firm, and the same thing happened. I would be like, well, why are my people not getting, my followers or my subscribers getting SMS messages about sales? Why are they not knowing that a new shoe is going to launch? Like, why don't know they know all of this stuff? And I would always have to kind of micromanage them. And that became really tough because, when you pay somebody to do something, you expect them to just do it and not have
Exactly.
to micromanage them. So I was like, this is not working for me. So I would recommend with you guys, if you're hiring a digital marketing team, have weekly calls with them, have strategic markers like, what is your what are you posting today, what type of ads are you going to be running, what is your email that you're going to be sending out look like. So these were really important things, and I learned them the hard way because I had to invest like 6 months of my time and money in a digital marketing firm that I later had to get rid of. But then what I did is that I actually hired somebody that I knew, somebody that I knew their work, I knew their work ethic, I knew that they would understand the brand. Because you see, your brand has to have its own mood board. What does it want to feel like? What does it want to look like? And you have to be able to have like even the color schemes, like what colors are you going to use? What is the font of the word going to look like? These are all things that people don't think about, but these are really important for your digital marketing. One of my mentors told me, Najwa, you're supposed to spend only 14% of your total sales on digital marketing. And let me tell you that that was not true for me. Like, I was spending arm and leg. My whole biggest budget expense was my digital marketing. And then I was like, this is not working. So I actually pivoted, and I actually changed to having a set amount for digital marketing. I wouldn't go over it. I actually started to create a lot of my own ads on Pinterest, on Instagram, that once I learned how to use them, and on Facebook ads. I hired thought leaders in this area to actually approve my ad. I would be like, hey, could you tell me if this ad is going to look good? Is the color looking good? And then what I did is that I actually invested in PR, because you see, if you're an infant brand and you don't have a notoriety like I did, like I'm a physician in Silicon Valley, there's 100 physicians in Silicon Valley. But if you're launching a brand and you don't have like that following already, you have to get some PR. So for me, I actually had to get some PR so that they could actually shine me as a brand, and then I could shine Emar. So that's how I did it. I would recommend doing that because I waited too long to do PR because I felt like I wasn't ready. But I would recommend actually talking to people and getting that out there, because that also helps you market yourself.
Awesome. Awesome. I think both of you have done awesome with your social media and stuff. And I don't know if we have a link to your websites that we can show our audience right now with both
Well,
of your.
mine's easy. It's trulycomal.com. And so is
There you
Najwa.
go.
Mine is, yeah.
There we go. We have Truly Komal, and that's her website, and you can shop. Amazing job with that. And then we have Emar. Um, there you go. Beautiful things, both of you. And you've done a great job. So what's next? Like really quick before we get to the questions, what's next on your plate? Komal, let's go with you.
Like I said, I'm launching men's care now with Shoaib Malik, and we're going to be doing a lot of the content development in January when he finishes his Abu Dhabi D10, and that's going to be a huge project because the route that I'm taking for Shoaib Malik by Truly Komal is basically Not at all the same as Truly Coma, because Truly Coma is a slightly pricier price range for Pakistanis, and it's available in the modern trade stores like the Agha supermarkets and the Springs, the nicer stores, and it's an econ product. But Shoaib Malik is a GT product, which is general trade, which means that the smaller corner stores, grocery stores, and therefore the price is a lot lower and it's more widely available. So we are going to be, it's a very high volume game, also a high risk game. So the deciding the USP. Oh, by the way, you having a USP is very important. Like Najwa's USP is she figured it out. What is her special thing that makes her product so different from everybody else's? Not only are you getting Italian beautiful shoes, but you're also getting all this medical benefits from it, right? You're not ruining your back, etc., etc. And the same thing with my products. Excuse me, the skincare, there's no mercury, there's no harmful ingredients, it's halal, it's good for your skin, it actually does what it says it will do on the package. 100% transparency. So and it's as affordable as I can possibly make it. So it's like the safest skincare with the most affordable prices, right? So that is my USP. So you guys need to sit down and figure out what is your USP. For Shoaib Bhai, it's kind of, again, men are not very metrosexual in Pakistan. They think losing their hair and being fat and bald and getting a tan and not and having bad skin is okay. Now in 2020, the younger lot is kind of getting a little bit better thanks to social media and cinema and all of that. So my USP is basically now much younger. So it's going to be between 18 and probably maybe 35, 38. And the USP is that you need to be fit, like Shoaib Bhai, and you need to be not just fit on the inside, but you also need to use safe and good quality products on the outside. So it took a while to figure it out because everybody was like cricket, 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 and it just wasn't working for me. The second thing that's up on my plate very quickly, I know there's no time left, is I'm going to be launching another product,
Ooh,
which is Pakistan's first fine fragrances range with my brother. So me and my brother Hassan Rizvi, we are now getting together and forming a company called Kohasa, which is Komal, Hassan, and Saad, my third partner, Kohasa, and we're going to be launching fine fragrances. So yeah,
cool. Look forward to it. That's exciting. And Najwa, what's on your sorry, on your plate next?
So we have been having an incredible year so far, even with the global pandemic. So I've been very blessed, and that's allowed us to actually think about the future versus, a lot of companies unfortunately have had to go out of business, and it's really heartbreaking. But for us, one of the most important things that we're working on is that the hardest shoe line to tackle for women was the high heel. So now that we've tackled it and gotten it almost completely perfected, for the next year, we're working on a couple more designs. One is going to be a flat shoe, which a lot of women are like, okay, Dr. Javed, like we want to have a flat shoe as well, but it's going to be built on the same medical technology that EMAR has been built on. So it's going to be the ultra thin carbon fiber medically aligning inlay. So that has been under production, and that has been something that we're really, really excited about. And then for I know, thank you. And then for spring, we have a block heel sandal coming out, which we're so excited about. Even adding more integrity and more support into a shoe than you can have with the EMAR shoes, anyways. And then for the fall line, we're actually creating a boot, which we're so excited about. And
Oh,
so
nice.
yeah, we're really excited. So we have a lot of projects coming on. A lot of people are asking us, especially the men in our lives, are like, well, how come we're feeling left out? Like, what is happening? We would like a line too. And so hopefully, inshallah, like my son, his name is Aiden. That's why the shoe, the signature Emar shoe is named Aiden. He's like, Mama, can you make a shoe for me? And I was like, Sure, like why not? So, my goal is to expand and allow every single person out there to have style and have comfort without ever worrying about their sensibilities.
Oh, awesome. That's great. So let's move on to some questions. All right, we have a few. It says, hello, ladies. One question I would like to ask is how to address managing family, kids, job, and a side business. Can we really do it, or is it a myth?
I
Najwa, maybe
I
take
think the
that.
person who should answer that.
so that's a great question. So honestly, I feel like this whole term work-life balance is a myth because there isn't any real balance. It's just your priorities in that certain point in time, right? So like when I'm at work, I'm at work. I mean, my priority is getting my job done. When I'm in my office, I'm seeing patients. I am wholly focused on seeing my patients. But then when I get home, I'm wholly focused on my children, right? You have to set boundaries because if you don't, then what ends up happening is that you can't do everything at one time, right? It's just not possible. As Komal said, it's really, really hard to multitask so many things. So you have to set priorities. So what I try to do, and I honestly try to do this the best as I can, but sometimes it doesn't work, right? Because you have deadlines to meet and things like that. I'm so blessed to have the most amazing husband in this world. We're college sweethearts, and he has literally seen me through the most toughest times of residency, having children, and then launching my own group, and then launching this business. And without him, I couldn't have done it. So you have to have an amazing life partner who understands and is there to help you. Um, and then for me also, I have a lot of support, like for my kids, we are so blessed. You have to ask for help, women. Like you can't do it all. Like if you need outside help to come help you do your laundry or to cook something for you so that you can actually do the things that are important, please ask for them. Like even my in-laws, they always show up. My parents, whoever I can ask for help from, they help me so much. And it's because I think it takes a village to create anything. You cannot do it as a one-man show. So I've been really blessed that I've been able to ask everybody that I need to for help when I need it. And then I try to do my best to balance it. And some days are better and some days are worse. But the thing is that you're only human. So you can only do as much as you can do. So if you don't feel like cooking that night because you've had a long day at work and your kids are tiring you because they have so much homework, order pizza. It's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay. Totally agree with that one. Another question we have, are platforms like Kickstart helpful? You don't, do you have to give up equity with some other forms or giveaways to raise funds? Did you guys experience any of that?
Komal, I have experience with Kickstarter. I can answer some of it if you'd like. I'm not sure if Komal,
Please
you
go
also
ahead,
did
please.
Kickstarter. Okay. So with Kickstarter, the thing is that in a Kickstarter, first and foremost, I will say like Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and all of these other crowdfunding campaigns that you guys can have or utilize, it's really, really great first, just like when you're talking to investors, you want to see who is on board with you and your brand. So you can actually contact all of these companies, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, there's all these other ones out there, and you can ask to speak to one of their accounts representatives and see how they are going to help you succeed because they make money if you make money, right? So you have to ask them like, what is their platform? Like, what did they ask? I know for me particularly, Kickstarter had recommended that they usually like an email subscription list to your product way of 4,000 people before they even want you to start it. And they want you to be able to sell like, within the first 24 hours so much of your product. So when I was talking to these people and I was actually like trying to see who would be the best ally for my product, I couldn't find one that was cohesive enough because I didn't have enough subscribers and it was just not working out for me timeline wise. But I do know that Kickstarter is usually a great way to get funds. You should actually vet out who is going to be the good partner for you. So you should talk to Kickstarter, Indiegogo, other crowdfunding platforms and see what they have to offer you so that your project will be the most successful one on their platform.
Awesome. Uh, Probably Komal, maybe let's start with you on this one. Any tips on selecting a vendor, and did you have to negotiate? I know in Pakistan there's a whole lot of negotiation going on. So how was that experience? I mean, did you have to negotiate a lot or?
It was really bad over here. It was really, really bad. The stores here are a mafia. Like they are a mafia. Like I went to one store and I said, "Can I stock my product with you?" And they said, "Yeah, you just give us 50 lakh rupees, and then that's just the induction of your brand, and then shelf rent, and then every branch rent, and then per SKU rent, and then per range rent." And then it was crazy. And I kid you not, I literally walked out of a meeting with a store. Luckily, all the owners met me because, I'm a little bit of known here. So they were respectful enough. Most of the brands, they don't even get to like the purchasing operations head, purchasing manager. They meet this level, like mid-level employees. Luckily, the owners met me, and I kid you not, there was one meeting I walked out of. I turned to my partner and I said, "I am not stocking in the store because this guy was not rude to me. He was very respectful, but he behaved because store people here are cash rich because it's like 8 crore, like 1 crore a day, like revenue, like just cash coming in, right? So they're kings. They think in their head that they're kings, and they all have like this. He started off. He thought that he like owned the world. So he was like, "Oh well, we would like take 40% off RP and 20% off TP." And I was like, "How much does that leave me if I give you 40 and if I give the distributor?" I have a distributor now, mashallah, Mueller and Phipps. They're like the biggest distributors. They're like global billion-dollar distributors, and so if I give them this, and then I give tax 17%, and then I give, the supplier and manufacturer, packaging, advertising, overheads, I'm going in a loss. So to answer your question, I had to slowly tackle it, prove my worth, prove that I'm a brand, create a demand, fake demand. I actually had to tell my employees to go to the stores and say, "Where's Shuli Goma?" Or did yeah, literally. So there are ways, it took time where these people were like, "Okay, well, why don't we have Truly Cola in our store?" And then I get a call, and now I'm getting calls that, "Oh, we can induct it for free. Just pay shelf rent and get a BA, like a sales girl in our store." And so it took me a year and a half. My company is a year and a half old, to actually kind of work with these people, and also because I'm an artist, so for me it was very difficult to understand how you could do this to somebody else. Like, I would be
Awesome.
like, "Hey, this is for you, this is for you."
Yeah.
I couldn't understand. So I was like, "But why? But these creams are really good for the average Pakistani girl. Don't you want this in your store? I mean, it's really good for Pakistanis, and the stuff that you're selling has mercury in it."
Right.
And they'd be like, "Yeah, but 50 lakh rupees de." And I'd be like, "That's not human. Like, why would you not
So you have
understand
to
and afford?"
learn that negotiation with them. Najwa, did you face any, did you negotiate with your vendors or anything like that?
Yeah, so I think Italy is probably as notorious as Pakistan is, and unfortunately, I don't speak Italian. So it was very difficult for me. I had the hardest time trying to negotiate pricing, customs, shipping. It's not cheap and shoes are heavy. So I had to really figure out how to negotiate. I did have a team who was in contact with what I would basically call a liaison, right? Somebody who can be an advocate for you, and they can go be a go-between between the Italian manufacturers and us. In Italy, they are very traditional in their way of thinking. They are experts, they are master artisans. You cannot tell them yay or nay otherwise. So if I wanted something done, I would have to call the gentleman who was the head artisan, he was a 40-year veteran in creating shoes. He spoke no English, only Italian, amazing guy, fourth generation, and he did not want to listen to me. Anything I would say, he would not want to listen to it. He'd be like, no, 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 no. And so I really had to, you know, be very patient, I mean, patience is something that you learn, right? So you have to be really patient, and then you have to really be able to get your message across, because, at the end of the day, it's your money that you're investing. And so if your product doesn't come out 100%, then it's not worth your money or your time, right? So like it has to be something that's one viable. So that was one thing. The secondary thing was is that it's really really hard to negotiate pricing sometimes with certain manufacturing companies and things like that, because they're like, well, the product costs this much, and then you want it sustainable. You actually have to invest more money in something that's of quality, right? And then people want to mark down so much, and they're like, well, we'll just take like 50% off and we'll keep it. You're like, no, you have to stand firm. You have to be able to be like, no, we have to come up with a better solution, because my product is really good. And if somebody doesn't want to have you in their in their store, if they don't want to be on board with you, I would say don't even worry about them. Move on to the next one, right? Because it's not worth your time and it's not worth your hassle. And right now, with e-commerce being as strong as it is because of like the global pandemic, everybody's on the phone. They can order. I would recommend that if you're having a hard time like going into brick and mortar, like in Pakistan, it's different, but in America, like if you're not really doing brick and mortar as much, then use your platforms, invest your money into your platform so that they can sell for you. And Shopify has an amazing integration system that anybody can use. Like it's absolutely ridiculous how seamless it is. So there's really great ways to become an expert on e-commerce through Shopify. That's what I use myself personally.
Okay, that's great. And the
Okay.
last one, I think this is a good one. Was there a time when things just seemed hopeless, that it's not going to go anywhere? You were frustrated. How did you handle that?
Uh, I face this a lot in music, and I face it a lot in show business. There are a lot of blocks here. There's ageism, there's chauvinism, there's you know a lot of stuff here that I need to battle in terms of just my own family, convincing them that it's okay for me to perform at weddings and stuff. And so in terms of that, I've had a lot of problems. And I think just recently, in the past 4 or 5 years, it's become cool to be a singer and to be an actor and to be an artist. But I've been around for a very long time, and I've had some days, some very, very, very dark days. But I think at the end of the day, you just have to kind of, I think that the most important thing is that you have to just stop comparing yourself to others and just believe in yourself and have a support system around you that believes in you. And that's it, period. They believe in you, no buts, no becauses, no agendas. And I feel that it's very, very important to just kind of weed out the negativity in your life. I am a big believer in being positive and having core beliefs that kind of work with you and your aura and your energies.
So did you
Uh,
apply the same thing when you were doing this product? If you hit a
absolutely,
hurdle?
absolutely. I went into this with like no doubt, like 100% no doubt. Like I knew it would work. I just knew it. And that's kind of how you need to go into it. That if you do not believe in your product and yourself, it's not going to work. I mean, it's the truth. It's if you doubt is cancer. Okay? No doubt. You have to have faith.
Awesome. And Najwa, did you face any time during this whole journey, did you come across a point and you said, you know what, I can't do it, and who did you rely on if you ever hit that point?
So I think any person who's an entrepreneur will tell you that that's probably the number one thing that they encounter is these moments in time where they just feel so overwhelmed and helpless, right? It could be external, it could be internal, but as Komal said, you cannot have doubt, because doubt is cancer. You can have times of, just days that are not great, but you can't doubt yourself. And the reason why is multifactorial, right? Passion passion cannot be bought. So when you're so passionate about something, like it just comes through. If it doesn't allow you to go to sleep at night and you're thinking about it all the time, that is something that needs to be created, right? So like that's me. I couldn't sleep at night. I would think about how I would design this, how I would make this, and it just started to become a reality for me because I just believed in it so much that I was like, I have to share this with the world. Like I cannot do justice if I don't bring this to market, right? Like I knew that it was going to be the toughest thing I've ever done after having a kid in residency, maybe even tougher because now, I would have to focus all of my energies, take away from time from my family, my, a career that I already have established and focus it onto something else. But I believed in it so much that I was like, I have to go forth with it. And the passion actually propelled me to do so. But that being said, like I had so many hurdles too, like one of the biggest hurdles is I spent 4 years designing and researching and developing this product. And we launched February 2020. And March 16th, we all went into shutdown. The worst economic crisis that's ever happened, right? Like everything had to shut down. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, how am I going to do this? Like I've just borrowed so much money from my friends, my family, my loved ones, and my factory in Italy is closed. Italy completely closed down. I didn't know when my shoes were going to get there, if they were going to reopen. Like that amount of stress on somebody is just unbelievable. But I had faith that, inshallah, like everything was going to work out because honestly, like I truly, truly believe that the the power of prayer and positivity can change anything. And so you just have to persevere and you just have to keep on doing what you're doing and roads and doors will open up for you. So I think that anybody who is an entrepreneur, they are the people that will, work an 80-hour week so that they don't have to work a 40-hour week for somebody else. So that type of desire and passion that can overcome a lot of things and even a global pandemic like Komal and I have just been through.
Awesome. Awesome. I think that's all we had with the questions. It was amazing talking to both of you. Got some
Thank
great
you so much,
insight
Anna.
into how to launch your own product. Wish you all the best for your future endeavors. Looking forward to those shoes and the new line. Maybe we can buy something for the guys, Komal, from your line. With that, can we share? I think we have your Instagram handles that we can share with the audience. And
Thank you so much.
Yeah, mine is very simple.
it's right.
Um, it's right here. It's
It's
Komal
right
Rizvi
here.
official.
There we go.
Yeah.
Dr. Najwa Javed. So follow them on Instagram. Great advice. Thank you, ladies, so much. We had a fun time, and I hope our audience got a lot of information from the two of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciated this opportunity. I hope it worked for some people and people learned some stuff from us. And Zainab, thank you very much for hosting us today.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me on. It was truly amazing to be able to do this panel with Komal and you, Zainab, and everybody else from Open Silicon Valley. We're so excited to share this with you. And I hope that if you didn't take away anything else, that you took one thing, that if you want to do something, make sure that you make it happen.
Yes, believe in yourself. Just do it. Thank you, ladies.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye.